All right, we're going to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order on June 5th, 2019. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman at Large Michael O'Brien is present. Alderwoman Shoshana Kelly is on an excused absence. Alderman Brandon Laws is absent. Alderman Patricia Clay.
Here.
Alderman June Karen.
Here.
And Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Present.
And Mayor and Chairman Jim Donches.
Here.
Also in attendance should be, but we have Bobby Bagley of the Public Health and several other people that will come up and testify.
All right,
Instead of going through the whole thing,
public comment. Anybody from the public wish to speak to the committee on any subject? Apparently not. Communications. Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, and I forgot to mention, present also in the circle is Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager. Okay. Communications from Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager, Contract for Emerging Leaders and Public Health Consultant Engagement. Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to accept, to place on file, and award a contract to ML Branding Strategy in the amount of $32,500. Funds are available in Department 171, Community Service Grant Funds of $30,500, and General Operating Funds, $2,000.
And Ms. Bagley is here to address this proposed contract.
Good evening, Alderman.
Good evening.
So this contract with ML Branding is a part of the work that the Division of Public Health and Community Services is doing with our emerging leaders in public health. As you recall, we received a contract from the Kresge Foundation in the amount of $119,000 to build our leadership capacity. As a part of that contract for that transformative initiative, there was a piece that was written in for us to do some branding of the division's role as Chief Public Health Prevention Strategist, and the ML Branding Company will work with us on branding our division as these Chief Health Strategists. Also work with us on creating the internal systems and what's required for us to support our transformative brand and systems training, as well as developing a repetitive framework for branding and communication of other programs that we have. Michelle has worked with other health departments in the country, and in particular in Massachusetts, actually did some work with our American Public Health Association, our New Hampshire Public Health Association on some branding and communication, comes very highly qualified. I did attach to the memo her contract, which shows how she's going to work with us over a period up until October of 2019 to get this work completed. We are 6 months into this transformative initiative, and the division is moving along quite nicely, and so we're ready to take the next stage of our work with the branding with this particular consultant. Any questions?
Questions, comments? Not? Alderwoman Karen.
I think this is great. I think you're really moving along with this project, and I think this is a great service to the health department. So thank you. Kudos to you and your staff for working on this project.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? And the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alderman O'Brien.
From Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager, HVAC Systems Upgrade for the Server Room. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and award the contract to Palmer and Seacard in the amount of $47,625. Source of the funding is Department 129, City Buildings, Building Trust Fund.
And I believe Mr. Cattignon is here to represent the department with respect to this item, the department being the IT department.
Yes, for the record, I'm Bruce Cognon, and just to give you a little background on this. Over the last year, we've had several heat waves, and all our computer equipment is housed here in City Hall. We had our AC unit that cools off the server room, couldn't keep up with the demand. Essentially, if any of this computer equipment gets too hot, it'll begin to fail. We were getting to a critical stage last year where we almost had to shut everything down, which would mean just shut down all the applications that run the city, which would really be devastating. I actually ran out to Lowe's and bought 2 standalone AC units, just so that we could cool the room down to 85 degrees to get us through the heat wave. Obviously, in the past 6, 7, 8 months, it's been relatively cool. It's winter, and we've had a cool spring, but we're entering into now a critical phase. We need to get this moving, get the vendor to schedule it so that we can get it in place.
Questions? Alderwoman Clee.
Yes, thank you, and I appreciate the heat unit. I worked in an IT department when I worked for the Department of Veterans Affairs, but how long is this going to take for them to get it in?
It's going to take a while. They have to change all the ductwork, as well as they bring in a crane to drop the equipment up on the roof.
Okay,
We're going to have redundant systems in case there is a failure. Can easily switch over.
so follow-ups?
Yes.
So this will be, it won't be working with the other one, it'll work in case the other one
No, they
fails?
work together,
They will work together,
Right.
okay,
but one of them on its own should be able to run the entire server room.
okay,
But it won't tax them both if they're both running in conjunction with each other.
thank you.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? And the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alderman O'Brien.
From Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager, Long-Term Management of Wastewater Biosolids Contract. Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and contingent upon the Board of Aldermen approval, award the contract to Resource Management, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $1,507,050. Funds are available in Department 169 wastewater.
Mr. Boucher is here to, superintendent of the plant, to explain this item, I'm sure.
Yes. Good evening, Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. Biosolids is a byproduct of wastewater that is a beneficial reused product. This is for a 3-year contract for resource management to manage the distribution of our solids. What they do is they truck it out of the wastewater plant and they deliver it to farms and spread it on farmlands throughout New Hampshire, Maine, and Massachusetts. It's a 3-year contract.
Discussion, questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Now, if the committee doesn't mind, since Mr. Boucher is here, we have several other items regarding wastewater. And rather than have
Yeah.
you jump up and down, maybe we'll just run through those.
I
So,
think one other is mine, and then 2 of them are paid for out of wastewater, but engineering will explain them.
which one is yours?
The CSO flow monitoring, which is the
Wait.
5th one.
Which is, so we will skip one and we will go to the CSO flow monitoring service if no one on the committee objects. Alderman O'Brien.
Okay, which one is that? Just,
The fifth one down.
okay.
All right. Which ones have we done? Where's the next one if we haven't done this?
Northeast and then,
Maybe it would have been easier just to have you jump up and down, but
Not the next one, but the one that follows it.
Right,
How
for
much is it?
We're
56,000.
confused with the title. of-
6,000?
Oh, it's
Thousand.
the
That's the
CSO flow
56,000.
monitoring
right
services.
here.
Okay, it was the next one in order. Okay, thank you. From Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager, CSO Flow Monitoring Services, Amendment Number 2. Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the Amendment Number 2 to the contract with Flow Assessment Services in the amount of $56,100. Funds are available in Department 169, wastewater.
Discussion? Questions? All those in favor of the motion, oh, well, why don't you just give us a brief explanation?
So Flow Assessment is a company we hired. They have rain gauges and flow meters within 11 sites in Nashua that measure the flow whenever it rains that leaves our combined sewer overflow locations. And monthly, they give us a report that we can send to regulators. So this is a company we have been using. This is an extension of their contract for another year.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we're back to 66,000. Alderman O'Brien.
From Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager, Contract Award for Emergency Notification System. Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and contingent upon the Board of Aldermen approval, award a contract to Onsolve LLC in the amount of $66,000. Source of the funding is Department 156, Emergency Management, General Operating Fund.
And Mr. Cates is here, the Emergency Preparedness Director. Would you explain this item, please?
Sure, good evening. So I am happy to be here to explain a little bit about this contract. We are working through the process for our third round of contract renewal with Onsolve. This is for the Code Red system that we have within the city. In order to ensure that we don't have a lapse in service, we're pushing forward with this contract at the same rate that we've been paying for the last 3 years. 3 years ago, we were able to bring the price down to from $36,000 down to $22,000 per year. But I am happy to announce that I think we have an opportunity to work with the state of New Hampshire. We're working currently with them to negotiate a project where we'll actually leverage their service, also through Onsolve, and it will eliminate this entire contract. So essentially what we're trying to do right now is ensure that we don't have a lapse in service in the event that the state contract doesn't work. But we are very confident that our partnership with the state will enable us to leverage their Onsolve platform with no real change in service for any of our public safety, public health, or other government departments for the type of service that they provide through Code Red currently.
So what you're saying is this is only a Plan B, which you want to be approved as the Plan B in case the state system does not
That's correct.
materialize.
Yep.
And is it the July 1st date that would be operative?
Yeah, so July 1st is the date that we'd look to have the state system implemented. So currently, our office is working with the different departments that currently have credentials on the Code Red system to ensure that they have access on the state system. We'll do some testing over the next few weeks to ensure that it has all the same functionality that we currently have, with the goal by July 1st to have completely transitioned over to the state system.
Discussion? Alderwoman Clee.
When you say that we'd be leveraging the state and that this contract would go away, what would the cost be from the state, or would there be a cost?
There would be zero cost.
There would be
to
zero
us.
cost. So this $22,000 that you negotiated down would go
No
away.
longer exist.
Good. Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Now we have, Alderman O'Brien.
From Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager, 2019 Pavement Marking Contract, Change Order 1. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve change order number 1 to the contract with Highway Safety Systems in the amount of $82,000. Source of the funding is Department 161 Streets, prior year escrow.
Our street superintendent is here to explain this one.
Good evening, Alderman. Johnny Barris, Superintendent, Street Department. So these monies that I'm seeking to encumber in our change order or escrowed funds that were designated for a striping program and will be utilized in implementing our bike routes and bike lanes. And it's just a change to the contract from those fundings.
And where will these bike lanes be?
Numerous locations such as Main Street and other designated areas through the city.
Discussion? Questions? Alderwoman Clee.
Sorry, actually more just a comment. I'm glad to see more bike lanes going through. I'm seeing more and more bikes, not just the Via rides, but more and more bikes, and I'm seeing the kids going back and forth to school and so on the bike. So I'm glad to see this.
Very good.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alderman O'Brien.
From Dan Cogan, Purchasing Manager, contract extension for single-stream recycling. Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the amendment number 1 to the contract with Casella Recycling LLC in the amount of $400,000. Funds are available in Department 168, Solid Waste.
And we have our landfill superintendent to explain this one. Thank you.
Sure. Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent Solid Waste. This is just a one-year extension to the contract that we currently have with Casella Waste Hauling or Recycling. We don't think that this is a terrible deal right now with the way the markets are and the way the recycling is going on. So we decided to unanimously through the division, Sally Highland, my recycling coordinator and the director, decided to ask Casella to extend it for one more year to see what the markets are going to do.
Discussion? I guess I would add the last time we went out to bid, there was only one bidder anyway.
Exactly.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too think this is not a bad deal to keep the status quo, but are we putting our heads together trying to look at long-term solutions? And if you could explain that, please.
Yep, absolutely. Well, one of the solutions that we came up with last year was putting up that tent at the landfill. You see a big dome tent that's covering our recycling, as you know, and that's helping to reduce the weight of recycling going out. Unfortunately, we have no control on the costs of recycling for shipping. It's depending on what the U.S. and the world is actually doing with recycling. I fully intend next year to try to go out to bid again to see what the feelers are. We're afraid that if we go out to bid this year, no one will bid on it. So that's why we kind of took the opportunity to stay with Casella. We were glad that they, extended it for another year with us.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LaFleur. Alderman O'Brien.
From Dan Cogan, Purchasing Manager, 2018 sewer replacement, Harvard Street, change order 3. Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and authorize change order number 3 to the contract with Northeast Earth Mechanics in the amount of $150,000. Source of the funding is Department 169 wastewater.
Thank you very much. Please
Good
proceed.
evening, Mayor, committee members. My name is Pete Cahalmi. I'm the Deputy City Engineer. And I'm here to talk to you tonight about some work we need to do on Chase Street. This is in addition to our Harvard Street sewer rehab contract. We added Chase Street after we found out that the sewer pipe was in a real bad shape. The contractor did a good job putting in the pipe over the winter. However, Chase Street is a very short and narrow street. The pipe was very deep, and they ended up doing a lot of unavoidable damage to the street, not because they did something wrong, but just because the pipe was so deep and there were so many connections to the houses. there's really nothing left of the road base, and this money would help to reconstruct the road and sidewalk on Chase Street.
Chase Street is Ward 7, I
Yes,
believe.
it is. It is, in Harvard Street. I'm glad to see that we're going to replace, especially the sidewalk and the street there, because that is near the Infant Jesus School. So there's a lot of walking traffic for there and also for Dr. Crisp. So I think this is, needed.
Yeah,
And to
those
think
folks have
that
been
we
more than
have-
patient.
Yeah, and to think we have an 1888 sewer pipe. So I can imagine what else is out there. So I'm all for it, I think while we're there, get it done.
Alderman O'Brien,
Thank you. I too support this, but if I may ask the question, Mr. Mayor.
of course.
On the, an intersection that I'm kind of familiar with, Bauer Street and Harbor Avenue, I know that floods out with the summer rains and stuff. Are we looking into that situation too? Because it is like a combination system there, correct?
A combined sewer system? but
Combined,
It
yeah.
probably is. Alderman, at this time, I'm not aware of any work in the plans at that location, but we're looking at our sewer pipes every single day. We're videoing them, we're looking at them and trying to find out which pipes need the help the quickest.
Follow up if I may? Could, probably for the people at home, can you explain the combined system so that they're familiar with it and have a better understanding of what, old Nashua and new Nashua?
Right. Initially, when the sewer pipes were built in the late 1800s, there was what we call a combined system. It handled sanitary sewer from your house or building, and it also handled stormwater. So the water that goes into catch basins when it rains, it goes into the same pipes. And then around the 1950s, we decided that it was not a good idea to dump all that flow into the Merrimack River, and that it was a better idea to separate sanitary sewer from storm sewer. So around the 1950s, 60s, we started putting in separate pipes for sanitary flow and storm flow.
Very good, thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. From Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager, 2019-2020, sewer rehabilitation engineering services. Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a contract to Hayner Swanson in the amount of $393,075. Funds are available in Department 169, wastewater, sewer infrastructure improvements, bond funds.
Okay, this is a contract we're looking to award to Hannah Swanson. We are currently working with this firm. We've been happy with their service. We have, as you all know, we have a substantial sewer rehabilitation program in the city. We are already managing many millions of dollars worth of work, and we need some help to identify what needs work for next year and to manage that work as well. So the work includes identifying pipes that need to be rehabilitated, and then putting together contract documents, plan specifications, and then overseeing the construction of those pipes next year.
Discussion? Alderwoman Karen.
Thank you. So are they looking to tell you which pipes need to be looked at first? Not considering those pipes that have, that just fail for whatever reason?
Yeah, they are assisting us in identifying the worst pipes in the city, yes.
Okay.
Anyone else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Unfinished business, none. New business resolutions, R-19-136, authorizing the formation of 2 voluntary nonprofit corporations under RSA 162G for the Performing Arts Center. Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I would like to make the motion to recommend final passage.
Discussion? Alderwoman Clee.
Not so much discussion as much comment. In order for the project to move forward, we do need these two nonprofits to basically extricate the city from the property, so to speak, in some ways to get the new market tax credits and so on. It doesn't mean that the city has completely like handed the property over to anybody, but it's creates this nonprofit organizations for the new market tax credit, just for those that are listening.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. R19-145, authorizing the City of Nashua to enter into an agreement for emergency ambulance services with American Medical Response, Inc. And we have Chief Rhodes here, I think, to, if we need him, to answer any questions. Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to make the motion to recommend final passage of R19-145.
Discussion? And what we're doing here, of course, is renewing the ambulance contract with our ambulance company, AMR, and we are including a new feature that will generate $350,000 of income to the city, thereby offsetting the cost of additional dispatchers that the fire department is going to add.
Correct. Brian Rhodes, your fire chief. Yes, we are looking to receive compensation for services that we have historically provided to whoever the ambulance provider was. In this case, it's AMR. And this is also to include access to our computer-aided dispatch program. I think the other thing to this is this is a 5-year contract with the potential of 5 one-year extensions, which is the potential of $4 million of revenue to the city to help us offset the cost of providing that service to AMR.
And because the amount escalates, the amount of payments escalates as we get into the contract each year.
Correct. The first year is $350,000, and there's a 3% escalator each year thereafter.
Discussion, questions? Alderman O'Brien.
From my familiarity with this, when I started, we had American Ambulance and Rockingham, and now AMR. And I'm very supportive of this. Now that we're finally getting some, I don't want to say rollback, but helping and assisting with the dispatcher, I think this is good negotiations, and I think it's perfect, and I can totally support this. This is will help out, particularly, like you say, in alleviating some of the things that have gone on in fire alarm, hiring the third dispatcher, increasing the betterment of services to the public. So totally supportive. Thank you, Chief.
Any other discussion, questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
And great job negotiating with AMR. This was all the fire department's doing, so they did a great job on this. New business ordinances,
There is none.
record of expenditures. Is there a
Yes.
motion on
Yes,
that?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinances pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period of May 10th, 2019 to May 30th, 2019.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. General discussion. Any general discussion? Public comment. There doesn't appear to be any members of the public. Remarks by aldermen. Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
I'd just like to mention to the public that this week we are celebrating our bicentennial for the state. and that folks should really go to the state website and look at all the activities that are going on through Saturday, I believe. And we just had the New Hampshire courts, Superior Courts, literally had a case presented at the State House yesterday. So there's a lot of things going on. There's lunch, is it lunch? I think tomorrow
On the lawn.
on the lawn. And it'd be good if you know, if you have young kids that aren't in school, to bring them up to the State House over the next couple of days.
And was the case interesting?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was quite interesting. Surprise to a lot of people. And it really focused on verbiage, what you use in, say, your RSAs, your laws, and how differently they can be interpreted depending on who's reading it. It was quite interesting.
Alderman Flea.
To add to what she had said, one of the things about the court case was that it brought home, and it works for us here too, everything that you do, words truly matter. It's not just the shall and the may. It's when you're changing one RSA and you forget to add, which is what happened here, one simple line that changed the whole thing. And this is a live, actual court case going on right now that was being litigated in front of us, and it was quite interesting. And on Saturday are free tours of the State House, and then the closing ceremonies. So it's been quite interesting.
And just to follow up with that, you can actually watch the video of the case because it's on the State House website.
Yeah. And
Yes.
I just wanted to add one thing. This has nothing to do with the finance, but I'd like to thank the parents and the volunteers around Pennachuck Middle School who have been volunteering to help do some walking the children across the sidewalk, across the street. We're having, throughout the entire city, we're having crossing guard issues. They're trying to work on it. It's very difficult because it's only an hour a day, half a day, but my post is up there for those who still want to continue to volunteer. We need some dates filled, and I've been out there playing pseudo crossing guard, walking the kids across the school, and we've had a lot of parents that are willing to kind of step up too. So thank you.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To echo my fellow aldermen and state representatives, if you could tell by my lapel pin, it's the contributions. You purchase a pin and it goes to a lot of the functions that are going on. And I am quite excited to be a member of the House of such a historic event. With this 200th anniversary, it's the same House that is, it's the longest serving legislature in the country in the same building. So it's quite historic. Those of us that use the bathroom can understand that it's the same building, but it is something. But, Mr. Mayor, I have some, hopefully, good news to bring to you tomorrow.
Which is?
Because tomorrow.
Good news, it's always welcome.
Tomorrow
Fingers crossed.
is, we're getting our fingers crossed, our toes crossed, and tomorrow is going to be discussion on the Senate bill to increase the budget to put in the $4 million for the rail study.
Great.
And I know Nashua has a great delegation of 27 representatives that are for this, and I'm hoping maybe tomorrow at this time we'll bring back good news to you.
Great. Sounds very exciting. Thank you. Any other discussion? There is not any non-public session. Alderman O'Brien.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, and the Finance Committee is adjourned at 7:36 PM.